Hello, and welcome to Empowered Voices, stories from the Arc of Greater Boone County. I'm Pam, and I'm here today with another member of our leadership team, Nathaniel, and we're going to talk a little bit today about his role and what he does here at the Arc of Greater Boone County. So, Nathaniel, welcome.
Thank you.
If you don't mind taking a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yes, so I got connected to the Arc of Greater Boone County through the Mr. Canary social enterprise, and I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit later in the podcast. But the reason I got connected with Mr. Canary is because my older brother Ryan has an intellectual disability. And so when I had the opportunity to be able to use my entrepreneurship skills that I learned at Ball State University to help a business that would directly impact people like my brother Ryan, it was too good of an opportunity to miss. And so it's been a great adventure since then. But I definitely backed into my role at the Arc of Greater Boone County. And so the Mr. Canary contract, which was originally part of the Sheltered Workshop program here at the Arc of Greater Boone County, it started at a different service agency in northern Indiana. And I believe in 2015, we moved the contract here to the Arc of Greater Boone County in Lebanon. And then I was actually part of setting up the Mr. Canary jobs here at the Arc and getting to work hand in hand with the Arc team to kind of train the trainers on what it took to produce Mr. Canary bird feeders. And I should say, yeah, Mr. Canary is a brand of bird feeders that's sold nationally, coast to coast through Walmart, Kroger, Amazon has come on really big for us in a big way, and we're starting up at Chewy and places like that. So kind of the standard retail formats, but a line of bird feeders that have always been manufactured by people with disabilities as a means of providing good work opportunities for those folks. So my story has kind of come full circle where I fell in love with the brand because of the social mission, because of its connection to my brother Ryan.
And your role now, obviously, is here at the Arc of Greater Boone County, and you are the director of our MainStreet Marketing Enterprises program. You want to tell the listeners a little bit about how that program operates today?
Yes. So we went from being a contract of the Arc of Greater Boone County to being acquired by the Arc of Greater Boone County. So when Mr. Canary's co-founder was ready to retire, the Arc of Greater Boone County decided to buy Mr. Canary. So I transferred my employment from the for-profit side to the Arc of Greater Boone County to run MainStreet Marketing Enterprises. And so that was a really unique opportunity because we used that acquisition to be able to close our sheltered workshop program and move to competitive direct employment of the people we serve here at the Arc of Greater Boone County. So with that transformation, we were able to move everyone who had been a participant in the sheltered workshop to direct employment, or at least anybody and everybody who wanted to continue working. We had a couple people choose to retire, but for the most part, people switched over, and that's been really exciting because we created a kind of a dual role program with MainStreet Marketing Enterprises where we have manufacturing interns and manufacturing associates. Our manufacturing interns are those who are kind of starting at the ground level, developing their work skills and getting used to zeroing in on a particular efficiency goal at a particular workstation. So we have something like 20 active workstations between our product lines that are just different parts of the assembly process for Mr. Canary bird feeders. And so we just kind of help folks match up with where they're naturally skilled. And then we help them kind of in bite-sized increments get a little faster at that particular job and try to really see each individual for where their strengths and weaknesses are. So we can, through our manufacturing coaching program, help them to overcome whatever limitations might be holding them back. And then once you hit a 50% efficiency threshold, you automatically get promoted to manufacturing associate. And what's really cool with that, that comes with the opportunity for additional hours and a productivity-based progressive pay scale. So we're able to work people all the way up to $14.50 an hour for manufacturing our Mr. Canary bird feeders through that manufacturing associate role. And Pam, I know something that was really important to you and me both is that we want Mr. Canary to be an opportunity that's as holistic as possible for the people we serve here at the Arc of Greater Boone County. So we even have people who do administrative roles for us who are doing our Walmart billing. We have employees who are, both doing the order intake process where we receive Walmart orders and they're putting that into our inventory management and order management software. And then we have a different employee with disabilities on the back end of that process who's going into our shipping portal and getting all that information, copying it over to the Walmart invoices, and then documenting that in that same order management software. So that's been really cool to see, is just how we can continually take more and more tasks that previously had not been performed by employees with disabilities and transfer those over to match the skill sets of the people we serve. So we've had a lot of great successes with that. One of the things that stands out to my mind is our interns. I think we've graduated 13 people from our internship program. So those are folks who, a 50% efficiency rate seemed very far away. But by tackling it kind of 1 week at a time, incremental improvement, those people have proven themselves and been promoted and given pay raises and all that good stuff. So it's been a wonderful last couple of years of really transforming the impact Mr. Canary has.
So you mentioned that people have workstations. Could you describe a couple of those for the listeners who might not be as familiar about what kind of steps go into our assembly of our bird feeders?
Yes. So a helpful way to conceptualize it is an assembly line. So if you take our Mr. Canary tube feeders, that is a clear plastic tube feeder that comes with a single perch, and we fill it up with a bird seed called Niger seed that goldfinches in particular really love. And it's got a couple caps that contain the seed, and then there's some packaging we put on it. And then it, of course, gets put into a case and shipped out and ready for use through Walmart's distribution centers. So we break that down into chunks that we call workstations. So the very first one is we have these plastic tubes that are just a chunk of plastic tubing. And the first thing that has to happen is they have to get punched so that there's a spot for the perch to go through. And there's another feeding hole for the birds to be able to stick their beaks in and access the seed. So workstation number one is taking those clear tubes, putting them on pegs that are mounted to a pneumatic punch. There's a two-handed operation there for safety to make sure everybody's hands are out of the way. But then that pneumatic punch fires and it punches simultaneously a hole about 1.5 inches apart, one for the perch, one for the feed hole. And then the final part of that workstation is removing those from the pegs and putting them into a box of finished workstation goods. From there, that box moves to us workstation number two, where we have these cool labeling machines that are originally meant for, kind of small wineries or maybe craft breweries. But we've repurposed them to be able to apply a label that has instructions for how to set up the perch. And it also shares our social mission on there. So that labeling machine has a foot pedal operation. So the operator starts the label onto the punch tube and then uses a foot pedal to disperse that label. The perch then gets added before the label is smoothed out. And then that's a finished unit at workstation number two, which feeds into workstation number three, where we add this cool flexible vinyl cap and so on and so forth down the process. So.
And listeners, if you want to see those processes, you can go on to our YouTube channel. They're also linked on our Facebook page. But we do have a series that I am past due on continuing the recording of, which is called Beat the Boss. And we have recorded so far the first 3 workstations, where I will confess I have been beaten every time, in spite of the third workstation, where I was extremely confident that I would win, and I still did not succeed. So it'll give you a chance to see those, but I think it also is a great opportunity in viewing those videos to see the talents of the people that we support. At least one of those individuals that I competed against was originally an intern, and you can see it's not just a very, very basic task that anybody could do all day, every day.
Yeah.
It really is something that you have to get used to, and it takes some work.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's a good point because we track productivity every single shift. So whether you're working a 1 hour shift or a 3 hour shift, we're tracking that rate of production and that becomes the basis of a person's pay scale. And so, we're constantly watching that stuff. So our folks can produce. They're
mm,
impressive.
yes, they certainly are. Another point I want to make sure that we make in this as well is as we made that conversion away from sheltered work, this was originally a funded program. So the Medicaid waiver program funded parts of this as a pre vocational program. Today, the Mr. Canary operation is self sufficient. So it does not utilize services funding to support the coaches who work with the individuals in that program. This program is indeed a social enterprise, which is intended to not only self fund, but to help support our mission here at the Arc of Greater Boone County, too. So,
Absolutely. And I think it's something that really makes us unique as a service provider. Um, Not just among bird feeders, but really any consumer product line. There's not a lot of people out there who have a national brand of consumer product that is manufactured on site at a service provider agency as a separate for-profit social enterprise. So it's one of the things that makes the Arc of Greater Boone County really unique.
so tell us a little bit in your role as the director of this program, what do you find most challenging?
Yes. So, as somebody who comes to this as a family member, one of the critiques of sheltered work that I found the most compelling was the notion that any work services program needs to be based on helping individuals get better and more skilled over time. And there was some criticism that sheltered work too often didn't accomplish that. And so for me, I'm really dialed in on making sure that we have a culture of continuous improvement and that no matter what your position is at MainStreet Marketing Enterprises from, a intern on day one or all the way up to myself at director of the program, everyone has to have that buy-in of we're not here to just do the same thing week after week the same way. We're really focused on getting better every single time because ultimately we don't want this to be a landing zone for everyone. We want it to be a launch pad. And so the people we serve, many of them have dreams of community integrated employment. And so what's the whole point of the program is to give them a diverse, extensive skill set so that they can be successful in community integrated employment. And the way to do that is through that expectation of continuous improvement. So that's something where I really, have a lot of focus because ultimately, if my brother Ryan were an employee here, that's what I would expect of anyone helping him prepare to be successful in community employment. And so I try to hold myself to that same standard.
What have you found most rewarding about this role?
It comes down to seeing the individuals we serve succeed. When you take it case by case, person by person, and the great thing about keeping data from every single or every single working shift is I can track. Oh, we're coming up on about 2 years or so since we've made this fundamental shift in the program. And I can track each individual's work history and just see how far they've come. And I'm thinking of one person in particular. She started off as an intern and her average productivity rate was right around 13%. And again, you need a 50% productivity rate to be able to get promoted to that manufacturing associate.
And just to interrupt for a second, that productivity rate is the comparison of an expected productivity rate done by a person without a disability.
Yeah.
So that person was only producing at 13% of what?
Correct. So really, you could divide that by two,
Okay.
right? So if you wanted to count it as a total efficiency rate, you would call it something like 7.5%.
Okay.
And so we have the threshold of, our associates need to be able to do 50% of, what somebody without a disability could do in the same time frame. And we have a lot of people who go way over that 50% number. I just want to make sure that's clear. But that's kind of that opening threshold for somebody to be part of our manufacturing associate program. But this individual, she was at, we'll call it, thinking through my head, that 50% is ingrained in my brain. So I'm going to talk about it as a 13% rate. And she was just convinced she would never, ever hit that 50% threshold. And she was bordering on, giving up and despairing over it. And, myself and our manufacturing coaches, we really tried to build her up and explain, like, you can do this. We're here to help you do this. We're going to just take it 1 week at a time. And it took a while, but she has since then been promoted to manufacturing associate, and she's earned, not been given, but earned a productivity-based pay raise for going above that 50% threshold. So that is what I find so personally fulfilling about what I do, because, I have that, heart-based connection to the people we serve because I see my brother in them, and to be a part of helping them succeed in just one part of their life, right? I have colleagues here at the Arc of Greater Boone County who are helping them towards goals in other aspects of their life, but my contribution is on the employment side. And so for me to be able to help individual after individual make documentable progress towards their goal is hugely fulfilling.
And this person was so excited when it happened. She made sure she told everybody. And listeners, so you know as well, this isn't somebody who was new to the program either.
Mm-mm.
She's someone who had been in our programs for many, many years.
Yeah.
And she's in her 70s now.
Yeah.
So she's not a spring chicken by any means. So she was just thinking because of her age and her ongoing health that she really wasn't going to be able to achieve those things. So it's been pretty remarkable to see that. And we've shared this a couple of times, both at the ARC National Convention and internally when we did an annual celebration. But there's been some overall huge changes in how well this team of workers with disabilities has been able to adjust to the changes. And that's meant some remarkable changes in their overall productivity rate as well.
Yeah, we have something like 20 individuals who have more than doubled their productivity. And again, it was largely the same Mr. Canary workflow process. We made some structural changes, but by and large, it's the same work and the same products being made. But from the time it was a sheltered workshop model to what we have today, over 20 people have doubled. We have something like a dozen people who have tripled their productivity in that time. And then we have so many people who, like I said, about 13, I believe, who have successfully made that transition from intern to associate. And that to me is just great, because that's how we can prove that we're meeting our mission and we're really properly serving, the people that Mr. Canary exists to serve, because the brand really is there to show the importance of American manufacturing and the way that it impacts communities. And, people with disabilities have an astronomically high unemployment rate, something perennial, it ebbs and flows with the economy. But it's pretty rare to find general unemployment for people with disabilities lower than 70%, 70%. And so to really be able to use our brand as a platform to show the incredible abilities that our workers have, and just, they're stocking the largest retailer in the world, something like 4,000 stores coast to coast between all our different retailers. And, that is done entirely by a team of employees with disabilities. And so we're excited to share the story, to keep spreading that word. So I'm glad to be on the podcast today, getting that word out there. But our people are incredible, and more people need to know that.
Do you have any other success stories you'd like to share today?
Ooh. As a cohort, so as an entire group, at the 1.5 year mark from the changes we made from sheltered work to competitive direct employment, as an entire group, the average efficiency gain was 145%, which to me is incredible. And again, that's mostly the same people doing the same job from the past decade, but doing it 145% more efficiently. We've got one person at this point who has maxed out our productivity-based pay scale at that $14.50 an hour. We have another person who will probably make that jump in the next couple weeks. We review pay raises every 60 days in our program. And so I think we've got somebody who's on that second highest tier who's going to be moving up. The vast majority of our associates have earned at least one pay raise, probably closer to two. And so it's just been great to be able to have that experience because, I'm thinking of one person in particular. It's not the happiest story, but she, a loved one had told her that she should not expect to ever receive a promotion or a pay raise, and she's gotten both. And so those are incredible opportunities where anytime somebody, whether you have a disability or not, when you're told you can't accomplish something, you either respond in one or two ways. It either you believe it and you don't try, or you resolve to prove somebody wrong. And seeing that spirit in the people we serve of, what, something not nice may have been said to me, but I'm going to push and I'm going to achieve my dream. And they do it. So it's just a privilege to be able to watch people do that.
And back to that story, of doubt, it's so tough in this field because if you've not worked with people with disabilities, individuals with disabilities are told pretty much from day one all the things they won't be able to do
Yeah.
from, physicians setting expectations and by no fault of their own, but not understanding what a person can and can't do. And then you've got, those then young kids end up in the school systems where they struggle because they can't keep up with their able-based peers. So there's so many things people are told throughout the years that they can and can't do. And many of the adults we serve are over the age of 50. We do have a lot of young adults that we serve as well, but especially those individuals who are older that we support. uh, some may not have been in school systems at all because they went through school systems before the laws were passed that brought special education into place. And many lived in institutional settings before they were able to move into group homes and supported living or move back with families. So there's just that culture of setting low expectations many times for people with disabilities. So changing that culture is a hard thing. And building confidence is one of those things that we're really proud of seeing in this team as we move forward too.
Absolutely.
Nathaniel, as we close up today, I do want to go back to the products because obviously selling the products helps support the social mission, which creates more jobs and demand for that. So where can listeners find the Mr. Canary products?
Yes. Great question. And I'm going to be conscious of the fact that almost everybody listening to this right now is going to be on their cell phone doing so. So you can just open up your Amazon app, which I'm sure almost all of you have, and you can type in the search bar Mr. Canary, and you can see our full product offering there. That's probably the easiest and most convenient way, but I'm also going to plug our own website where you can get to know us a little better, see a little more behind the scenes about who we are and what we do. So MrCanary.com is a live option as well, as is Walmart.com, because anybody who's enjoyed the ease of grocery pickup at Walmart, odds are really high that your Walmart store carries a Mr. Canary bird feeder. So if you're doing your weekly grocery order, you can just search up Mr. Canary in the Walmart app and add us to your shopping cart that way. But we are also in store at Walmart, Kroger as well. Chewy.com is a great way for anybody who's already got their pet food on auto ship subscription. You can do the same thing and add Mr. Canary to your order that way. So there are a ton of great ways to find us.
And then here in Lebanon, if you're in town, you can pop by our office at 900 West Main Street during our business hours, and you can purchase bird feeders right here on site. And we'll also be at the Lebanon City Markets the last Tuesday of each month with our products as well. So, and our product line includes tube feeders, our sock feeders, both in single packs and 2 packs. And then we also now have refillable sock bags as well
Yep.
available for people to purchase. So, like I said, wanted to make sure we did the product plug as well
Well,
before we closed up because not everybody knows what we do and that it's out there too.
and there's a really cool story on the sock feeders I want to share real quick.
Mhm.
Thanks to you, Pam, connecting us to a sister chapter of the ARC down in Knox County, Indiana. Our mesh sock bags are completely made in America. So the mesh comes from Virginia, the rope comes from Rhode Island, and then that is all cut and sewn and put together into a mesh sock bag feeder by our sister chapter in Vincennes, Indiana. So you actually support two social enterprises serving people with disabilities every time you buy a sock feeder. And again, it's all, made in America. So it's hard to find something bad about that product line.
Very true. And we truly appreciate that partnership. It was one of those kind of just creative moments as we were brainstorming some ideas once we fully acquired Mr. Canary of, is there a way we can get this product sourced in the U.S. and just making that contact with the ARC in Knox County made it happen. So it was pretty cool. Well, Nathaniel, thank you so much for joining me today. And listeners, thank you for joining us for Empowering Voices. We look forward to hearing or having you hear us next time.